Welcome to the World Chess Show, a brand new series about the action on the board, the drama of it, and everything in between. It's the game that needs no introduction, where strategy collides with creativity. But if you thought you knew everything about chess, it's time to think again. The World Chess Show is about to reinvent the sport. We're going to take the game to another level, ripping up the history books, to explore how the art of playing's entered a new era. From the drama on the board, to controversy off it, the rock stars of yesteryear to the icons of today. Every month we'll take a deep dive into the sport's biggest topics. Cold War giants being replaced by modern day superpowers. The game of kings facing its own battle of the sexes. Tradition being challenged by the online revolution. This is chess like you've never seen before. Reinvented, revitalized, reimagined. We're about to move the sport from the back pages to the front. This is the World Chess Show.
This is the life that we live. Make way for the king.
Midwinter in the Netherlands, 30 miles west of Amsterdam. Vikensee is just your typical seaside resort. For most of the year, it's a quiet place, but every January it's transformed into the world centre of chess, courtesy of the Tata Steel Tournament.
First edition was back in 1938.
It's our so-called Wimbledon of chess. Many world champions played here.
The level of the tournament is so strong.
We all know that in Jan we always have Vikensee, so we look forward to it.
As a kid, you don't really know that it's a small village. You think this must be some sort of a big place, you know? Okay, you hear of like London has Big Ben and Vikensee has a tournament, so you think like it's something huge. But then it turns out it's not really something huge, it's just a village. But for a chess player, very meaningful.
Tata's not so much a tournament as an institution, attracting the world's best players. 14 in the Masters event, 14 in the Challengers competition. Not to mention the 1,700 amateurs who turn up to play during the 16-day event.
Why do chess players come to a tiny village when it's cold and rainy and stormy and sometimes it's -0? Well, that's a good question, but that's also the charm of this tournament, that we are all together in this tiny village and all the restaurants, all the bars are full with chess players, both amateurs and professionals, and that makes it also a bit of a cozy atmosphere.
Winning Tata takes nerves of steel. The Masters play 13 classical matches, many lasting deep into the evening. That requires preparation, concentration and stamina.
It's certainly very challenging. This is a huge psychological pressure on every player. And halfway you can just feel like you are overexhausted, and I try to work physically, mentally to stay calm during the entire tournament.
I think in this long tournament, physically you have to be energetic to play all the 13 games well. That's why this is like one of the toughest tournaments in the calendar. You have to focus on every part, like not just the game, but also you have to focus on the preparation, which also takes like 3-4 hours.
This year's lineup featured a who's who of Grandmasters, including new world champion Gukesh and 2024 winner Wei Yi.
The lineup is always kind of a puzzle. I'm always looking for some interesting players, fighters, they are very important. I need some players from the top 10. I need some players from the top 20. I will never invite the numbers 1 to 14 of the world. That would be the strongest tournament ever, because they are too strong and the tournament could be boring because too many draws. They cannot beat each other.
It's such a nice mix that you don't get always the best correct play. You often get more exciting, attacking games, then suddenly someone starts leading and someone else has to catch up. So I have always found this tournament to be so much fun to cover. Never ever has it become like a draw fest where everyone are just, splitting points and making it boring. Tata Steel Chess does a brilliant job of starting the year on a high note.
While the Grandmasters battle it out for the main prize, the tournament also includes amateur competitions and a challengers event.
When organizers say me about the invitation, I'm very happy. It's a very famous tournament in the world, and I can't wait when I go to this tournament, and very exciting to play.
When I came here last year, I had no idea how brutal it was going to be. It was such a wake to the reality because I was beaten left and right, and the wind and the weather, everything was so hard to deal with. So this year I had a better idea of what I'm getting myself into.
It's a great opportunity for me to play these great players and get some experience. Since I'm also very young, it's very prestigious. There are some spectators watching, which is different from my other tournaments, and I might get a little nervous, but this tournament is really hard. I'm having some serious opponents and I have to work like 5-6 hours every day. It's a bit tiring, but I'm kind of used to it already.
As well as the players packing the community centre, the local cafes are also rammed with people playing chess and enjoying live commentary of matches. All curious to find out who will be their 87th champion.
I do vividly remember being on the other side for many years, maybe from 10 till 15 or something. And I remember like the big crowds and trying to squeeze in, especially during the weekends when there's so many fans coming from all over the Netherlands and even from all over the world. It was really something special. I never thought I would win, even when I qualified to the master group, because I was one of the underdogs. And at the time Carlsen was playing Caruana, so it was really a strong field as always. But somehow everything came together that year, and it's never easy.
A few days ago I was scrolling some comments and I saw a comment which put everything into perspective. There was a guy who wrote, "You've played so many times and you only won once," you know, so it's always relative, really.
It's my biggest achievement in my chess career. I hope I can score good, but maybe not easy, because my opponent, they are stronger than last year even.
Winning this would be such a big thing, but you just have to take one game at a time, and here every player is capable of having a great tournament and eventually winning it, so you can't take any game lightly. You have to be focused throughout, so you can't really be thinking about like winning the event while you're playing.
Pragnananda led the first half of the tournament before new world champion Gukesh surged ahead. The pair ended up tied after 13 rounds, but Pragg kept his head in the Blitz tiebreaker to secure the biggest win of his career, champion of the Wimbledon of chess. Tata Steel is one of the sport's biggest events, but it's not the only game in town. Whatever the format, nobody's more obsessed with ratings than the players. And the ones that really count are the International Chess Federation's official rankings. The pieces and players might be the same, but it all comes down to timing to separate FIDE's 3 officially rated formats. Classic is where it all began. The old school version played at tournaments like the World Championship, Chess Olympiad, and Tata Steel. This is the long-form version of the game, all about preparation, stamina, and analytics.
The most important type is classical, because you play the World Championship match and you play the World Championship cycle. You have more chance to think, you have more chance to improvise during game, and that's what it takes to become a real top player.
FIDE events start with a minimum of 90 minutes on the clock for the first 40 moves, but can last for hours.
You just put in much more time into the game, and then the win gives you more joy and the loss gives you more pain. I think it's just natural.
Magnus Carlsen holds the record for the longest game played in the World Championship, a match that lasted nearly 8 hours back in 2021. If time is the issue, Rapid might be the game for you. Making its debut at FIDE Congress in 1987, it's the version of the game all about creativity and freedom.
Rapid is interesting when you need to calculate immediately. It's interesting time control. I win a lot of tournaments in Rapid.
Games have shorter time limits than their classical counterparts. At the World Championships, players start with 15 minutes on the clock. When the tournament was held in New York last December, Volodar Murzin and India's Humpy Konaru were crowned 2024 champions. If you're looking for real boardroom drama, Blitz is the game for you. It's basically chess like you've never seen before.
Blitz is just quick and easy, I would say. You just let the hand do the moves, and it's the most enjoyable.
If all three are equally important, then I will choose Blitz.
It all comes down to thinking on your feet.
In Blitz, yeah, people just don't see what's happening when there are 5-6 seconds on clock, and it's a little bit maybe more stressful for some people, but for me it's just exciting, and I always like to play Blitz.
At FIDE World Championships, players start with just 3 minutes on the clock. Magnus Carlsen and Ian Pondici made history last December when they settled for a draw in the final of the tournament, becoming the only players in history ever to share the title. If you're a keyboard warrior rather than over-the-board player, you can play for official FOA ratings on the FIDE online arena, the ultimate digital destination. It's home to the only online rankings recognised by FIDE. You can become an arena grandmaster within a thriving community, playing everything from low-key daily contests to intense global showdowns.
In today's digital age, businesses require more than just an idea. To stand out from the crowd, you need a strong digital identity. Get your unique domain name, because IT is you.
It was the event every chess fan had been waiting for. The start of the new Freestyle Grand Slam series at the Waisenhaus Resort, Germany.
I'm very, very happy that we're getting the tour going this year, and to be back here, I can't wait to get started.
When I'm in a tournament, I'm always quite intense. Both here and in Vikings, the tournament that I played previously, I could get away from all the things that were happening, and I could focus solely on chess.
I'm excited about the tour. This event, of course, but also the other events that are going to happen later in the year, and I'm excited to play against the best players in the world.
10 of the best players, the world's biggest chess streamers, and a team of 100 people ready to turn the opening leg of the tour into a groundbreaking spectacle.
I'm hoping that we're going to see more and more players play freestyle chess. I'm hoping that we get more tournaments and that we get more people, obviously, than just the top in the world to play this format, because I do think it's very fun.
The drama began before the tournament, FIDE taking issue with the tour's positioning as a world championship, but peace broke out in time for the first moves.
I'm happy there was, at least for now, a resolution with the conflict between FIDE and Freestyle, which was not, of course, nobody wanted that. We all want to play the tournament without having to worry about anything else. So I'm glad there was, at least for now, a resolution. I hope in the future there can be either partnership or just some sort of way for both parties to coexist.
The tour's major USP was the use of Fischer Random or Chess 960 to determine where the back pieces like bishops, knights and rooks were placed on the board.
Quite excited to play the 960 event. After the classical chess that I've been playing, it's quite nice to have this change, in a more fun event.
With starting positions drawn at random, that meant openings couldn't be memorized, games wouldn't follow predictable patterns, and Grandmasters had to play positional chess from the very first move. Last-minute qualifier, Javokhir Sindarov opened the tournament in style, winning his first 3 matches before drawing with world champion Gukesh D and beating the event's poster boy and world #1 Magnus Carlsen. The most anticipated game of the tournament saw Carlsen beating Gukesh D in the final day of round-robin games.
I felt like I played all right. At the end of the day, I didn't make any headway. I think I started in 5th and I ended up in 4th, which is essentially the same. But of course, was nice to win a couple of games.
With 300 million viewers following online, the event switched to classical time control for the knockout stage. All the big names back at the board. Gukesh was the first star to fall, beaten by Fabiano Caruana. Then it was Carlsen's turn to say goodbye, losing in the semis to 20-year-old Vincent Keimer.
It's amazing, especially since I felt that more or less I lost most of my advantage, and of course having the white pieces is basically my best chance to win a game. So I was kind of getting annoyed already with myself, but I kind of managed to keep a little bit of pressure, which then ended up being decisive.
It's been a fun event for sure. Obviously, Vincent was better, so huge congratulations to him. I think in the classical portion, he clearly was the best player.
That set up a showdown with Fabiano Caruana, who beat Sindarov in the other semi-final.
I was defending for about like 15 moves, in this endgame, under pretty heavy time pressure, so it wasn't a fun one.
Keimer struck first, defeating his American opponent in opening best-of-2 game final. In Game 2, he knew half a point would be enough to secure him the title. Needing to win, Caruana tried everything, but the German hung on for a draw to take the win at Wiesenhaus and check for $200,000, the biggest prize of his career.
I think it's clearly the strongest tournament I ever won, and also beating Alireza, Magnus and Fabi in consecutive matches is fantastic. The game itself was incredibly complicated, but I think I'm quite happy with the way I played.
They are masters of performing under pressure against the clock. But what are the sport's best players like doing the same thing away from competition? We're going to find out by asking some of the game's most exciting Grandmasters to tell us about themselves. We start by turning the spotlight and clock on the winner of the Tata Steel tournament.
Hi, I'm Pragnananda. I'm from India, chess grandmaster. My style of play is I try to be universal, and I try to play whatever the position demands. There are areas where I'm strong, and I think I would say I have good understanding, and sometimes I don't manage my time well, which could be improved. I prefer playing on the board. I mean, online is good in terms of like you don't have to travel. I do not like traveling, but I still prefer over the board. In general, I like playing all the top players. They want to beat you, and so it's really challenging to play them. I had like different heroes when I was growing up. Anand sir was one of the players I looked up to. Recently, Magnus is someone I really look up to his games, and I try to take a thing or two from their game as well. Before the game, I think it's important to do preparation, but also you have to be fresh at the board. You shouldn't be tired of doing preparation. Like, preparation should help the game, but it shouldn't make you tired before the game. So I think everything should be done in like balance. The biggest result I had was becoming a runner-up in World Cup, which made me qualify to the candidates, playing like candidates. And this year I want to get to candidates and make it to World Championship. Yeah, honestly, I don't have like a particular opening, but because the chess nowadays like requires you to play all the openings, so I just choose depending on the game. But while I was like coming up, I liked the Italian game.
Singapore, November 2024. The great and good of the sport have gathered for the first All-Asian World Championship final. Defending champion Ding Liren is the first Chinese player to hold the title, following victory over Ian Nepomniachtchi in 2023. Facing him across the board, 18-year-old challenger Gukesh from India, who won the Candidates Tournament back in April. The stakes couldn't be higher. The defending champion hasn't won a game of classical chess since January. Gukesh, ranked 18 places above him, is odds-on favourite to take Liren's crown. The world is watching to see if the 18-year-old can become the sport's youngest champion.
When the match began, I felt like it would be 65% chance for Gukesh to win. But immediately after the first game, it felt like Ding was in good shape. He really wanted to defend his title. He played a new opening, he put pressure on him, and then with very accurate moves, he managed to win the game. Gukesh put a lot of pressure in game 3, and that final position where Ding lost on time, that victory really made Gukesh feel like, okay, now the match is even, I have a good chance here. But the next 7 games were all drawn. And I think that really impacted Gukesh deeply. At some point, he even started thinking that there is a real possibility of losing this match.
With the doubts really creeping in, the challenger looked as though he might finally succumb to the expectations of his home nation. Come Game 6, Gukesh D finally gave a hint that he might be capable of living up to the pre-tournament billing.
In my mind, it was absolutely clear that it would be a draw, and suddenly Gukesh is like, I want to play on. And that made such a deep impression on me because it showed like Gukesh was ready to fight till the very end, come what may. And that attitude, it made a deep impact.
But the world had to wait until Game 11 for the teenager to make the all-important breakthrough.
It was a very complicated game because he had an edge on time, but somehow things went wrong and then finally blundered and lost the game. That was a huge break for Gukesh because then he was 1 point up in the match. It was the first time he took lead. And then we thought, okay, now it's over. Ding comes back in the next game itself and plays one of the best games of his recent times.
The two players headed into Game 14, the prospect of a championship tiebreak looming.
It was heading towards a draw at some point, and we had started becoming a bit relaxed in the commentary. And we were like, okay, this is a draw. Suddenly, Ding blundered and we couldn't believe. We just got up from our chairs. He played his rook to f2 and he offered a rook trade. And that was the moment where it was the most inappropriate occasion to exchange the rooks. Gukesh at first didn't realize it, but within a couple of seconds, you could see on his face, he just realized that he's going to become the world champion. And that was a face of excitement, disbelief. And once he executed the winning idea, you could see him breaking down into tears. It just showed how tough that entire journey was for him. It was not easy. He had to battle with his fears, his inner demons. Everyone was so impressed with the way in which he won, the way in which he dealt with that moment. You could see him like touching the board, just, thanking the god. He just connected with the people.
That's it for now, but next time on the World Chess Show, we visit the World Chess Club in Berlin. See you then.